In this video, I'm going to show you how I go about getting hard to find British Airways reward flights, because I've got to be honest, after the surprise announcement by BA a couple of weeks ago, I've got a bit of a panic on. So I'll go through some strategies, I'll show you the tool that I use to find availability, and then I'm going to show you some of the British Airways Avios redemptions that I found today, which is Thursday, the 9th of January. And then as an added bonus, I'm going to show you some great features on the tool that you can use to find Virgin reward availability, and even better, how you can zero in on the best value reward flights now Virgin has moved to dynamic pricing. So a lot to get through, but before we dive in, what on earth am I fretting about? Hi, I'm Phil and I'm on a grey gap year. A couple of weeks ago, British Airways announced big changes to how we earn status, but this isn't the first big change that they've made. In the last 18 months, British Airways have changed the way we earn Avios, they've changed the membership year end dates, they've reduced meal service on flights, and this was all before they gutted the old executive club and the way that we earn status. And all of this has been wrapped up in a nice little marketing package calling the changes improvements that were based on customer feedback. Now the smart money is on further improvements to the executive club, or the British Airways the club as it's now known, and Avios devaluation is probably next. I mean, it's the last domino to fall, and that's why in a recent video I said I was looking to burn through my Avios, and I recommended that you did the same. Of course, Avios is bigger than just BA and IAG. It's a reward currency of choice for Finnair and, more importantly, Qatar Airways. But I noticed that Qatar Airways have updated their website recently and have added some new Avios prices for their redemption flights. Now, I noticed this when I was looking for flights to Melbourne, which are usually about 45,000 Avios in economy from the UK, but they were priced at 56,000. A bit of digging, I was able to find both prices throughout the year, and also the Flexi Rewards price, which is the double the usual 45,000 Avios, so 90,000. So I think Avios devaluation is happening. I think it's going to continue to happen quietly. There isn't going to be a big announcement, so we won't be able to get all hot and bothered again. You're just going to wake up one morning and wonder, was New York in business always 110,000 Avios? Okay, before I can talk strategy, or is that tips? Oh, I don't think hack's the right word. What's the best word for this? Okay, so I don't know what to call this section, but before I can give you my helpful hints, you'll need to know how BA currently allocates reward seats to flights. So British Airways releases flights 355 days in advance, and when they do, each flight has 8 economy and 4 business class reward seats. That's both for European and long haul flights. But on long haul flights, they also release 2 premium economy reward seats too. So there's no first class reward availability by default. However, as time goes on, if a flight is quiet, more reward seats might get released, and some of these seats might be in first. So if you want to fly to Paris or Rome in business, and there's lots of flights, and you've probably got plenty of availability, especially if you're looking a little bit in advance. But other routes have less flights and they're more popular, so finding seats on these routes can be difficult. So the 3 things that I think you should consider are, firstly, plan ahead. So there may be additional seats released as time goes by, but the early bird gets the worm. If you know when and where you want to go far enough in advance, then you can often get the flights you want. And remember that you can cancel reward flight bookings for £35. So see a flight that's available and it works for you, act in haste, because in this case you can repent at leisure, albeit at a cost of £35. Now the second tip is to be flexible on your dates. If you're trying to book those hard to get reward seats, and chances are you'll need to be flexible, maybe by a day or two, at least on one of your legs. And the third tip is to try and be a bit flexible on your destination. If you really want to go to Orlando, maybe you can fly to Miami instead. Los Angeles and Las Vegas, well, are they almost interchangeable? You might find Johannesburg works if Cape Town is full. Looking for winter sun? Lots of destinations in the Caribbean. It doesn't have to be Antigua. I'm sure you get the general idea. So those are the 3 strategy elements, and I think you have to consider, or at least be flexible on 2 of them. If you're only a few months out, then you might have to be flexible on both date and destination. But for those really hard to get flights, for example, business class seats to Sydney in Australia, you often find that they just don't show up ever. And that's because other customers are calling into the call centres to book them the moment they're released 355 days in advance at midnight GMT. Now, that is not for me. I am not waiting up until midnight to try and book flights to Australia. But I did get a reward booking to Sydney with British Airways in business last year. So how did I do that? Well, I used a tool called SeatSpy. SeatSpy is free, but you only see economy seat availability, and that's a good way to decide if you like it enough to want to pay for it. But SeatSpy does only cost £3 a month or £30 a year, so it's not a huge financial commitment. And you can also sign up for a 14-day free trial just to check that it is what you want. Now, before we go any further, this video is not sponsored by SeatSpy. I'm recommending SeatSpy because I use it. I've been a subscriber for a couple of years now, and I think it's a brilliant tool. I also think it's good value for money. Now, I do have an affiliate link in my description, in the description of this video, for SeatSpy, and I'll get 3 months added to my subscription if you use that link to buy your subscription. There are free ways to find availability. You can just log into British Airways and search for award availability on your dates, or you can use the British Airways Flight Finder tool. I'll leave a link in the description for that, but you do have to be logged in to use it. It's very simple to use. Just pop in your origin, destination, airports, and then you can search for a specific date by month, by a date range, or you can do a full year search, which makes the most sense, really. And then the reward finder chugs its way through the bowels of BA's IT system and pops out some results. I have to say it was much faster this time than it was the last time I used it. I'm just searching on business class flights, but you can change the class of travel and it'll bring back a new set of results. It's a bit slow, but it is free, and it's free for all classes of travel. Compared to these free options, the SeatSpy interface is an absolute dream, and they have upgraded this fairly recently. You just select the airline you want reward availability for, your outbound and inbound airports, and just search, and then you're going to have a full year of day-to-day availability for all classes of travel on that route. And you can easily change the filters on the side of the screen. You can increase the number of passengers, or if you're not interested in economy seats, you can just untick economy. Similarly, you can filter on peak and off-peak dates. So looking for off-peak first-class flights to New York, well, it's just as easy as that. And there's also another search feature that's less well known, and that's the "Where can I go" search. With this, you enter a range of dates that you want to fly outbound and inbound and just hit search, and it gets this brilliant map. And now I can see all the locations that I can fly to, so we can start to find these destination trade-offs that I talked about. You can look at the whole of the Caribbean at a glance, or you can filter the world for first class in September. So you've got a search for the whole year for each destination. You've got the whole world for a date range, and this works for BA and for Virgin and other airlines too. But these search options aren't even the best feature in my view. The absolute best feature of SeatSpy is the alerts, and it's these alerts that got me my ticket to Sydney. If you look right now, there's very few premium seats from London to Sydney, and this is the case for most of the year. BA released the seats 355 days ahead of departure, and then the eager beavers, they snap them up, often calling the call centre at midnight. But throughout the year, British Airways do often release additional seats on some of these flights. And if you have an alert set up, then you can get a WhatsApp message and you can get an email from SeatSpy when they do. Now, setting up the alert is very simple. They're at the bottom of the general search page. So just put in your outbound and inbound route, set a date range. Now, you just need to make sure you've got the mobile notifications on and click create alert. Now you'll get the alerts when the availability comes up on those fare classes you've selected. And that's how I booked my seat. BA released some seats in my alert period. SeatSpy sent me a WhatsApp message. I clicked the link and then I just booked it. Simple pimple. And I got a one-way flight to Sydney for £800 and 110,000 points. And if you value those points at 1p each, then it's still a fairly chunky £1,900 one way in business. But that's still a discount of £1,700, or about 45% on the usual one-way fare. And I've used this tool to find availability for first class flights. I used it to get my flights to Barbados. I've also managed to snag club suite seats to Hong Kong, and they can be hard to find. So I think I've had good value out of this tool. Okay, so this is some of the reward availability I found this morning. Remember, you can always pause the video if it runs a little bit quick for you. So let's start with the easy ones, and that's destinations in Europe. There's often availability in most European destinations. You can see here that Paris and Rome and Madrid all have plenty of availability. And even some of the European destinations with less flights like Malta and Catania in Sicily, you can see there's availability for at least 2 people even during the summer holidays, and this is actually really where you could make some savings. If you're a family looking for school holiday flights, I mean, you're going to need to be flexible, you'll have to book in advance. But you will see there is lots of availability. I mean, even Alicante and Malaga have availability during the summer holidays, although I'm only searching on 2 tickets here, but this is only a few months out. If you booked 300 days out, you should be able to get 4 tickets somewhere. And just to illustrate this point, this is the availability for 4 tickets to Bodrum for July and August this year. Okay, so let's look at some long haul, and let's look at the Caribbean. Now, I've removed the economy reward seats for these long haul flights because premium cabins tend to offer better value on these. And Antigua, as you can see, has got some decent availability. Barbados doesn't have that much in business, but if you set an alert, I'm going to imagine that more will be released once the BA sale is finished. Trinidad has lots of availability, but like Antigua, it flies out of Gatwick, so you're going to be in the old Club World yin-yang seat. The Bahamas has plenty of availability. If I remember correctly, it's finding a hotel that isn't going to break the bank that's tricky with this destination. And there's the Dominican Republic. There's some availability here. You can see that if you're a bit flexible on location and also on your dates, then you should be able to get some flights. But this is another one through Gatwick. A lot of the USA destinations have availability, although you might need to be looking for later in the year or travelling one way in premium economy. LA has first class availability for December, so put an alert on that route if you want to hear about any other first class availability to LA. There's usually good availability to New York and Boston and so on, with lots of Boston first class showing for the first few months of this year. So now let's take a look at some of the harder to get locations, and Hong Kong is looking sparse. So you'll need to set an alert for that, and the same's true for Singapore. But you can see there are last minute seats that have been added for January. Even Bangkok is sparse, and I've actually seen really good availability for this in the past. So now some outliers that you might not have thought of trying before. So Bermuda, of triangle fame in the Atlantic Ocean, that's got some availability, and at the very least you can claim you flew in the Bermuda Triangle. I'm not sure if you actually would, but it would be a fun story to tell. Or you could fly BA's longest flight, coming in at over 14 hours from Santiago in Chile. Nothing for a few months, then it opens up in their winter. Now it's a bit cold, but it would still be an adventure. Cancun in Mexico is quite busy, but you could perhaps do a 2-center holiday. Fly into Mexico City, a few days there, get an internal flight over to Cancun, and then fly home from there. Or the other way round, depending on your dates and the availability you can find. You could also do this with a 2-island holiday in the Caribbean as well. Just remember, from June to September, you're at risk of hurricanes and the rain that they bring to the region. And now for something completely different. You could try Saudi Arabia. Matt Jones went there, he made a series of excellent videos about his travels. So if you want something different, then you could watch those and see if you think this would be something for you. And that's what I really like about the Seat Spy tool. You can just scroll through the destinations, find something different, places you wouldn't necessarily put on your list, but are going to be brilliant nonetheless. Now, it is of course important to say that the availability for reward flights change all the time, but you can dip in and out of Seat Spy. If you're just looking for European or East Coast USA flights, then you might not even need a Seat Spy subscription. The British Airways tool might be all you need. Just before I show you those bonus Virgin features, I just want to tell you about the Grey Gap Year Patreon group. And sometimes someone's going to come across something interesting as far as reward availability goes, and they'll post it in the WhatsApp group. So if you'd like to join that, or you'd just like to support the channel, there is a link in the description. It's just £3 a month for membership. And we're going to have our first ever Grey Gap Year meetup this month. So there's still time to join the group and join us at the meetup. So I've just got time to show you those Virgin features, and I'm going to pick a route with limited availability, and that's Barbados. And you can see at a glance which dates are the more expensive ones with the heat map. Now I really like this feature. You can see the dates in March are 35,000 points compared to dates in February that are 350,000 points. Now I'm not going to go into the rights and wrongs of this. This is what we have, and Seat Spy is going to make it easier to find the better value reward availability. Another way of zeroing in on dates is if you turn the heat map off, you can just move this point slider down and it will just show you the lower points dates. So if BA do introduce dynamic pricing like Virgin have, this tool will become very valuable. So finally, I just want to say thank you for watching. I do appreciate your comments and your support. If you're looking for some ways to build up your Avios balance, then take a look at this video. It's a concise guide to 8 ways that you can use to earn Avios. And if you've enjoyed this video, do please remember to give me a like. And if you'd like to get notifications when other videos like this are released, please subscribe, click the notification bell, and then you'll get those notifications. So thank you for watching and joining me on Grey Gap Year.